What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Warehouse Series. So today, if you are not a subscriber, if you could do that, help support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And obviously, you want to join Discord. You got almost 400 people over there helping each other out. And a lot of the videos that I come up with are from Discord. They're your pictures that we're going to go over, like today's video, and questions that you guys have. So like I had somebody asking me about the block, and so we're going to go talk about the block a little bit before we get to the pictures. So guys, if you could give me a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. Like I said, join Discord. I just block out this live. We tried that. It didn't work out too well. So let's get to today's video. So we're going to get right into this. So the first thing I want to say is if you did not see this video right here, I talked about how to follow the block. And in there, I tell you about well, I didn't mention it in here, but I'm going to mention it right now. So when you look at a pallet that was received, so let's say you're on the dock, pallets are coming off the truck, whatever the count is the block. So one layer and whatever the count is, that's the block. Like right here, you see this is a 10 block. So you would actually do the same thing. Once you select that off the pallet onto your pallet, you're going to want to 10 block that. So another way is looking at the pick slot. Once I've replens the item into the pick slot, you can look at it. Now, look at the top layer for the block. Now, I'm going to go to my first picture right here. So we're going to look at this. This comes in a 10 block. So although this is the bottom layer, look at the top layer for the block. Look at the bottom layer to see if you need to follow that block. I would say at least 90% of the time you are going to follow the block that comes on the pallet, but there are times that I do not follow the block. And this is what this person was asking me. When do you not follow the block? When I look at the bottom layer and it's hanging off the pallet, that is when I don't follow the block. All right, so I took my little yellow knife that we have, our little cutters, and I put this where my thumb is. That's how big of a gap is or overhang, I should say, from the piece of wood to the end of the case is right where you see right there. So that's the side of the pallet. And now I am going to go to the front of the pallet. Now this is sitting flush to the back of the pallet, so you could almost split this in two. So if you were to put this evenly on this pallet, these cases, right in the half of this, that's how much it would be hanging off on each side. I do not like cases hanging off the perimeter of the pallet, so I block it my own way. And what is my own way? This way. So I would 8 block these. Now I just threw this up real quick. I would definitely make sure that these gaps are even back here if I was selecting this on my pallet. But since I was not selecting this day, I was just setting this up so everybody could see it. And I know some people will be like, well, what are you going to fit in that gap right there? Well, if you watch my channel for any length of time, you know I love filler cases. And I get at least 4 or 5 of these every single order. These I call filler cases. I say people waste them on their layers just by building a layer with them. Save them. When you have small gaps, you're going to have them to fill in your small gaps. So this is what I do with these cans. I 8 block these. Now I'm going to go on to the 17 block that the cans come in. These are the other cans that you guys see me selecting the 10L. When I do my voiceovers and I'm selecting, I do not like 17 blocking these. And it's so funny because until I started doing this channel, people started asking me about the block. I didn't even realize I 16 blocked these. So this is the way it comes on the pallet. Even though you see a gap here and you might see a little bit of wood here, but it's hanging over in the back. It's hanging way off the back of the pallet. And so I don't like the way that this block comes on here. So once again, all you got to do is take your fingers. Even if you can't see the bottom block, even if it's a full pallet, just take your fingers and fill the edge of the case. If you can fill case before you hit the pallet, then it's hanging over, and I think the block needs to be changed. So this is the way I block it right here. I 16 block it. So instead of having 3 cases right here, I turn 2 sideways. I don't care about a little bit of a gap. It's not going to hurt my cube. It's not going to hurt the structure of my pallet. This is what I like to do. The salary up at, so this is a little bit different. The salary up at Produce Warehouse, although it's within the perimeter of the pallet, I 6 block them. I turn them on their sides and I 6 block them because the 8 block on salary, those cases are not good and they buckle when you put weight on them. I turn them on their sides. Sometimes I won't even 6 block them. I'll lay them and 4 block them, stack them up the front. And they say I need 4 salary, I'll go 2 and 2. So there's not a lot of weight going on top of those salary sticks. So there's different ways of doing this stuff, guys. You know, so with that being said, guys, that's the block. That's what I wanted to add on to that video that I have put out probably months ago. So if you didn't see that follow the block video, I will link that in the description below if you guys want to watch that. So let's get on to the Discord pictures. Why do I put on Discord pictures? Like I said, we're close to 400 people on Discord, and I want to keep putting your guys' product up so we can go over pictures, good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Right here, we got a good pallet. I said, you know, oh man, stacking cans on top of sugar. We stack dog food bags and stuff like that on top of bags on top of sugar and that. So it's a nice base when you have bags, but I couldn't even imagine stacking jars and cans and everything that you have on there. But you did a fantastic job, whoever built this. There's a couple things I want to point out here. One is the pickles. What did I tell you? If you guys have been watching my channel for any length of time, I told you when two cases are like this, there's a point between this case and this case where you can get even. And that's what they did right here. We got this pickles coming down, we got the jelly coming this way, and we took this case of pickles and we found a spot between this case and this case where we're even. And we left our Miracle Whip over to the corner. You notice how we didn't slide it over and get into this gap where we're going to start rocking the Miracle Whip. They constructed this pallet really well. Very good use of slip sheets. All right. A lot of you that follow me, you know, I'm not a big fan of slip sheets. It doesn't mean that I'm right. It's just I've never used slip sheets. I don't use slip sheets, but I call out whenever I think there's a good chance or a good time that someone uses a slip sheet. And I think definitely on top of your sugar was a good point, and right here, because this is a lot of weight, a lot of small cases, a lot of different size cases. But right here, that's the first thing I want to point out. The other thing I want to point out is over here. I tell you all the time, I love bags because you can move the contents around in the bag. What do we have right here? We got a low and a high. All right, we got this box is low, we got this box is high, and we take our bag of sugar and look, we get level again. Look at this. Look where the applesauce is. I mean, we're perfect. We're perfect all the way across. Why? Because if you put a bag down, like they did with this sugar, you could tell most of the contents are on this side because that was the low part. Slap that side. All you got to do is slap that, and the contents are going to move over to that and make it level again. Beautiful palette, beautifully done. And those are the few things I wanted to point out on this one. Let's get to the next one. Now right here, I like this. It's a very nice palette, but what do I tell you? Imaginary lines, and we got our broken wood in the back. Remember, if you have broken wood on one side of the pallet, put it towards facing your jack. And then, because we want to make sure that we utilize the full pallet, even if there is a broken piece of wood. If the broken piece is if the gap is way too much, then don't even use that piece of wood. Get a new piece of wood. We did good here, but look, our imaginary line stops the third row up, and then we're starting to hang over. This ice cream should have been out of here, and these two cases of fish sticks, I would have pushed over. Well, we only got about maybe an inch. Just push them over. And then the next one, the beef patties, I would have took this one and turned it. All right, we don't have to tie in. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't go there, okay? And this 3 across like this does not fit. And this, I don't know, I don't throw a freezer. Is this the way it comes on your pallet that was received? And if it is, then this is a case that you do not need to follow the block. If this is the way it comes on the pallet that was received, then you do not follow this block. I would not follow this block because look how wide we are. I mean, we're hanging off both sides. Even if this was the first layer, we'd be hanging off both sides. So other than that, very nice pallet. We're keeping cases together. I like how you're doing that, keeping all the same light cases together. You got your ice cream on top. I mean, other than you coming out like this, I like this pallet. Just a few things I would change. Let's get on to the next picture here. This person said on Discord, it looks worse in person. And I was like, I'm not trying to be rude, but it looks pretty bad here too. So these Excel boxes, they crush. So what I would do is your green striped boxes, I would have put 3 across. I would have tried not to put this case on its side, although you probably did it to try to get this corner level, but then you never tied in the corner. So what I would have done is turn this case, oops, it's so hard looking at this. I would have put 3 of these cases across, and if it took me turning this box the opposite direction to make that work, then I would have done that. I would have focused on trying to fill out the top of this Excel box, or you could have took all 4 of these cases and faced 2 and then put 2 on the other side. You could have had 4 of these green and brown boxes right on top of the Excel. That way you would have took the weight from here to here on top of those boxes. I hope that makes sense. So 2 boxes facing in, and then go on the inside of that, 2 boxes facing in. You could have put 4 boxes right on top of that Excel. Other than that, we're okay. A little bit of a column over here, but all your weight came from not spacing boxes properly on the Excel box. And that's where you got the whole pushover. So with that, and plus you're on a plastic pallet. Plastic pallet, you have a smaller surface and they bend a lot easier. I don't like using plastic pallets. I want to make sure I didn't skip anything I did. Let me go back, guys. I just want to, oh, holy crap, what did I do? All right, here we go. All right, I'm sorry. All right, so guys, this one right here, I throw these up. I like when people post different type of products because we always have the same things: freezer, perishable, dairy, dry goods, deli. We always have the same thing. So I love it when people put different things up like this. We had one before with pet supplies, and I said these almost look like boogie boards. I came from the beach, and they almost look like boogie boards to me. So if this is your picture, comment below what these are because I'm almost curious if they're boogie boards or are they going to be folding chairs. I don't know. With that, perfect pallets. I said I like the gap in between, because there are times that, and this is knowing your warehouse, there are times whenever you're selecting, and you know, sometimes you get these big cases that are just, they're tough to fit on the pallet. Now, whether or not this is one of them up here, I have no idea. I can't really tell what's on there here. I don't throw this type of product, but they left their self room so their pallets did not start getting locked into each other. Because I like pushing my pallets up and leaving a little gap, but it all depends on your product. So I don't mind leaving a gap as long as you know what you're doing. And they obviously know what they're doing. That's a very, very good pallets there. Right here, we got a lot going on. I like your bags down here. What's those, like rhubarb or whatever. These almost look like the small bag of carrots. I would have put it right on top. I would try to keep the unsturdy stuff in the middle. This whole entire middle column, I would try to face it towards the middle like you did with these cases down here. That's my cross and T I talk about, and putting this big case here, I would have moved it because your lemons here are hanging off because you did not have room. If you do not have room, it does not need to go there. So either turn this case and face it towards the middle, or put it somewhere else, or move this case so you can fit the Sunkist on top of it. And then the case on top, these cases, if I remember what they are, they smush real easy. Well, when you put 2 smaller cases on top of that box that are smaller, and then you put weight on top of it, it's going to crush the crap out of that box. I would have took these 2 brown cases and put them somewhere else and dropped your apples straight down, because I would probably guarantee this is one of those big flat boxes, and try to be bigger than the box underneath of it or the same. If you know it's a crushable box. So, so other than that, really not a bad pallet. You tie it in at the top. It's produce. You get the column stack a little bit. Maybe this box right here, cherries, we got this little bit of a downslope going. So, yeah, I would maybe stick those to the side. They almost look like an open box too. So, open boxes I like on my front of my pallet, front corner facing in. I don't like them on the back because they crush easy. So let's get on to the next picture. Right here, not too much going on. I talked this bottom row right here. This case is hanging off the back, and we got a gap here. So more than likely, this case would fit here. I always say that if you're driving from, let's say we got 15 bays to go from one pick location to the next. I'm just guessing here. If your case shakes off the back, take time to push it back on, because then you're going to get what's going on here. You got this corner sort of rocking out. I mean, we correct ourselves here with putting weight distribution back towards the middle, but we got a corner that's rocking out. So just be careful with that. Other than that, it's a nice pallet. Very nicely done. Let's get on to the next one. Right here, the only thing is these open boxes. So these, I don't know if they're kiwis or what they are. If they come early in your order, what I would do is I would throw it on another part of my pallet, up on the front, the highest spot on my pallet, and I would select to get at a later time. If I have to move it a couple times, then I'm going to move it a couple times. For that reason, I do not like stacking on them, because more than likely you're not going to get a box that's going to fit on top of that nicely. These should be at the end of your order unless they come out in bulk and you just happen to get one of them. I don't know, but I would definitely not stack on top of this box. Put it on the highest part of your pallet and then move it a couple times if you have to. Your clementines, it's okay to put your clementines. I didn't even realize this is the same pallet. This is the same pallet we just looked at. I didn't even realize it. So sometimes I just freelance with these pictures, guys. So sometimes I don't even realize that it's the same picture that we just looked at before. But these clementines, this crossing over your box of clementines is usually not a good idea because it will crush the contents inside the box and it will crush the box itself and give you a weak corner. I usually try to column stack all my open boxes together. So let's move on to the next picture. We got a couple pictures left here. Another beautifully done pallet. The only thing I probably would have done is just slid this root beer over a little bit just to get more weight distribution, you know, having too big of a gap, or maybe even try to squeeze something in that gap. But I'm nitpicking because this is a really nice pallet, really well executed pallet. These back here, if you work at our warehouse, I like the use of the slip sheet on top of the Gatorade because you had all your slippery cases coming. At our warehouse, we have all this same product. So if you're watching this and you work at our warehouse, I mean, we might not have this type of pop, but we have pop. So very well done. Let's get on to the next one. Right here, freezer pallet, it looks like. Try to fill in your gap down here, but I was like I said before, is that this might be a long box. So maybe you weren't able to, because sometimes you get these boxes that are just a hair shy of being a full, you know, the whole length of the pallet. So sometimes you get this. You get a little window like this. But the thing I like is they corrected it. We got a tower. And what did we do? We tied this side in to that side. So very nicely done. Let's get on to the next one. This one here, all what I would do different here is I don't like having holes in my gap, or I mean gaps down in the base. I don't like having holes in the base. Boxes on their sides, you know, when you're in a freezer, I don't know these products, but I would imagine they're a lot more sturdier because it's frozen stuff. But I would have took two of these green boxes and put them into the gaps. Sideways, even though I don't like putting cases sideways, I don't know what the product is, so maybe you can't even put these sideways. I don't know. But I would have took two of these green and brown boxes, stuck them in the gaps. That way it prevents, so here's our gap, and we got the burgers here and the burgers here. Well, that prevents the burgers from moving, all right? It prevents the burgers from moving and possibly shifting your whole corner, because now we got a case in that gap, and it's not going to allow our cases to slide back and forth side to side. And then I would have, you know, just dropped cases down, and yeah, because these brown cases here look like they're almost like the same size. So yeah, I would have just filled in the gaps, but other than that, I like keeping the cases together. We're keeping light boxes together. Nice pallet. All right, guys, this is the last pick that we're going to look at. Then I'm going to go on to one more thing real quick. So this is Trevor's pallet. This is the only person I know whose pallet it is because we had this in the last video. And where you tied in on this layer right here, we got cases tied in at all the way up here. That's what we're talking about when we say tie in the cases. All what I want to see is that done all the way down here. Probably your fourth row, I would have tried to tie in. So just try to tie in a little bit earlier, because this is a lot of weight. Even though it looks good in the warehouse, it does not mean it's going to look good once it gets to the store. This whole entire bottom 4 cases could be absolutely crushed before it even gets to the store. A lot of riding going on, especially if it's like our warehouse and we cross dock stuff. So that means it rode from one warehouse to the other warehouse, came out of a truck, went onto another dock, got cross docked to another side of the dock, and then put onto another truck and then taken to the store. So you got to remember, just because it looks good here does not mean it's going to look good once it gets to the store, because it could go for a heck of a ride before it gets to the store. And the last thing I want to talk about in this video right here, once again, someone here, I'm going to put the comment up too. All right, so we had this person, this was yesterday, so it says 12 minutes ago, but it was actually yesterday that they left this comment, so saying that they gave this a try. I talked about in this video right here that certain items that you could basically just stack straight up on one side, which I did right there, put all the same broccolis on one side, and then I went to the other side, and I selected that. And the one thing that's cool in this video, it's this is probably one of my earlier videos, and it said 400 subscribers. I'm over 2,600 now, so definitely growing, guys. I appreciate everybody's support. But he gave it a try, said it worked really well in the wet produce area, you know, in that he found that it's harder to work with like the Fresh Express and the Taylor Farms. Now, I've told someone before in another pallet that they had a bunch of their cases sideways. I do not like putting Taylor Farms sideways on the cases sideways because they're just folded flaps. And when you put pressure on them, okay, it's like like Brussels sprouts and stuff like that. Those boxes will pop open when you put pressure on them. The Fresh Express, as long as you're stacking other Fresh Express on top of it, I don't mind putting them on their side because they're taped on top. Still not the greatest box, but they're a little bit more sturdier. They're not flaps and they're actually taped. When you put other Fresh Express on top of them, they are very light boxes, so you're not going to break. But if you have weight going on top of a sideways box of Fresh Express, I highly recommend not doing that. So I wanted to throw this comment on here to end it. That's it for today, guys. I hope everybody will, subscribe to the channel, join Discord, and keep posting your pictures, and I will keep making videos like this. If you guys liked the video today, guys, give me a thumbs up, and that's it. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.